This segment brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to Farm Factor. Lance Rezac of the Kansas Soybean Commission talks about soybean checkoff dollars.
I'm Lance Rezac, and we have a diversified farm here in Onega, Kansas. I actually farm with my son and daughter and my brother and his two sons. So we have obviously soybeans and corn and livestock and wheat also. Today though, I'd like to mostly talk about our soybeans and the checkoff. I actually volunteer on the Kansas Soybean Commission, which is our state checkoff. I also sit on the United Soybean Board, which is the national checkoff. And I also got appointed to the U.S. Soy Export Council, which handles most of our exports in soy. And it gets farmer checkoff dollars, and it also gets matching dollars from the government to help increase exports of soy, meal, and oil around the world. And really, you don't realize where all your checkoff dollars go. They start out here in the state. They end up over in Pakistan or Bangladesh. I was just there before the coronavirus. And some of the research that's going on to help promote soy use in those countries is amazing. The chickens in Pakistan were a small chicken that was like 3-pound chicken that grew up in 3 or 4 months. And the U.S. Soy Export Council went over and said, look, if we take our genetics and our soybean meal, look what these chickens can do. And the chickens were twice as big in half as much time. And so the entire industry in Pakistan, in like 4 or 5 years, once they saw that, they got one integrator to do it. And the entire industry in Pakistan has switched over using U.S. genetics on chicken and soybean meal to grow their chickens. And so there's people in these countries, and they're really fast to adapt technology. And because it's out there, it's in the world, and once they see it, even in the very poor countries, there's people with money and influence, and they can make changes pretty fast. Similar thing in Bangladesh. We went over there. Bangladesh is poor yet. Most people are riding bicycles, don't even have a motor on there to get around. They're walking or pedaling something. But we went out and we went to this brand new crush plant. It had just come online, and it was crushing 200,000 bushel a day of a lot of U.S. soy. They really prefer the U.S. soy, and it was state of the art, all computerized. They had equipment in there from Germany, Switzerland, U.S. You'd have swore it was brand new, state of the art building that had been built in the U.S. or something. But those people adapt that technology. And with the help of the U.S. Soy Export Council and your checkoff dollars, they're trying to develop all these new markets, because we know how reliant we are on China. And we still spend money in China keeping our contacts there, because they're such a huge importer. Most people don't know this, but 60% of any soybeans that are traded, leave a country, go to China. So that's almost 2/3 of the entire world's market there. So you can't really replace them, but we do a lot of work in a lot of other countries with these checkoff dollars, developing all kinds of new markets. Aquaculture is another one that they're working on developing. 6 or 7 years ago, I went down to Mexico, and they were kind of doing some research with soybean meal, and they were being real quiet. They're going, no, it works for fish, but it's proprietary. We're not telling anybody that we can feed them with soybean meal instead of usually fish eat fish. And so it's a lot cheaper to use soy. It's actually a higher grade of soybean meal, but it's similar. And so, but now the entire world is starting to, everybody knows that now. And the amazing fact that I heard, there are more pounds of farm-raised fish than there is beef in the world. So if we can get into that market and start feeding all those farm-raised fish, there's another huge demand for soybean meal. So soybeans really have tremendous potential in the world. There's so many people that need so much protein. On average, the world demand for soybeans has gone up about 4% each year. That's a lot. In the U.S. here, we can only use so many beans in the U.S. And so really these export markets we're developing are good. We just do a lot of, your checkoff dollars are so important to make sure that we get into these markets. And then even in the U.S., there's brand new uses for soybeans and oil. Anything you can do with petroleum, we can do with bean oil. So, and it's renewable. So there's a lot of research into all these areas, paints and everything else, just in the U.S. that we can do and replace petroleum oil with soybean oil.
When we come back, meet the 2020 KFB Natural Resources Family of the Year.